Rise Tribe, good morning. I'm here today with Matt Thompson, who is the co-founder and chief dental officer at Expat Dental. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning.
So today we're talking about best practices to keep our children's teeth healthy, top tips and some facts. Tell us right from the beginning, the basics, because even here there are conflicting ideas about what we should all be doing for our kids and ourselves as well. Let's start with toothpaste.
Okay.
Fluoride, no fluoride, how much? What should we be teaching our children from the get-go?
Sure. Very common question. Lots of conflicting and confusing information out there, right? Fluoride in small amounts is safe. It's safe for you and your kid. It's very good for teeth. The problem what people are always concerned about is if you get too much fluoride, you can have something called dental fluorosis, where you get these little spots in your teeth. But as long as, like I said, you're not, eating tubes of toothpaste or something like that, you should be fine. So even with young kids, even 0 to 3 years old, it's okay to use fluoride toothpaste. You want it on the box of fluoride, on the box of toothpaste, it should tell you how much fluoride is in it. And for young kids under 6, you want to keep that around 1,000 parts per million. For 0 to 3 years old, it's usually recommended to use just a very light smear of toothpaste. So think like a grain of rice kind of spread out over the toothbrush.
Good pointer.
And then 3 to 6, you can increase a bit to about a size of a small pea, the pea size. And then from 7 years old and above, just go for it.
As you and I would.
Right. Just as long as you want to keep the amounts very small until they're able to spit afterwards, right? Until you're making sure they're not swallowing it. And then you want to be brushing twice a day.
Right.
At nighttime especially is important. Right before you go to bed, and then after that, no more snacks, no more juice, nothing but water. So if they have anything else besides water, you got to brush the teeth again.
Right.
And then in the morning time, usually better to brush right when you wake up. A lot of times there's a conception that brushing after breakfast is the best thing. And in some cases that might be true, but really it makes sense to get rid of the bacteria before you start having the breakfast. So you get rid of all that stuff that would be producing the acid. And it's also, if we brush our teeth right after having something like orange juice or coffee or fruit, something that's acidic, it can actually be damaging to the enamel.
Right.
So combine that with all the crazy morning routines of trying to get out the door for school and all that stuff. Usually it's better to just do it right when you wake up. It just helps to kind of establish the routine.
Right, because it can easily get forgotten and pushed aside, something else takes priority, you rush out the door before you know you've forgotten to do it.
Exactly, yes.
So first thing in the morning, I'm so glad you said that because I've won my battle in my household.
2 minutes is an eternity when you're trying to get out of bed, right?
So, talking about brushing, is 2 minutes the recommended length of time?
2 minutes is the time. That's the general consensus across the world. 2 minutes is a good time to brush your teeth. And like I said, that's a long time for an adult, but especially for a kid, right?
Yes.
So there's all kinds of different things you can do to help to get to that 2 minute mark. You can just use a timer. You can play a song. Do something to make it fun. My favorite part about electric toothbrushes is that most of them have a 2 minute timer. You turn it on, and then you just let it go until it turns off.
Easy peasy. But is that good for children to use an electronic one?
It can be, yeah. I mean, especially with kids that have difficult time, like when you're in that kind of transition zone between when you're brushing their teeth and they're brushing their teeth, but haven't quite developed the dexterity or kind of spatial awareness. Electric toothbrushes does most of the work for you.
So what kind of age would you recommend that they should be brushing on their own?
You want to start from about 3 to 6, like trying to help them learn how to do it. But definitely until they're about 6 or even 7, it needs to be supervised. You need to make sure that they're doing it properly, not jumping around with a toothbrush in their mouth, that kind of stuff.
Yes.
But yeah, until about 6 or 7, a lot of times it's hard for them to really, clean all the surfaces properly. And so like in my house, I have a 4-year-old boy at home. So what we usually do is he brushes his teeth first, and then I'll go in behind him and just kind of help him get any of those spots he may have missed.
Yeah, I think that's a great tip actually, and then I guess it does make it an activity that you're doing together, and it's part of the routine, right? That you're going to go and help him, and hopefully he'll be able to do it by himself soon enough once he's taken on your guidance.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good way of doing it. Anything to make it easier, anything to get them into the bathroom to do, you said you've got a 4-year-old, I've got a 7 and an 11-year-old, and It is that they go and brush your teeth. How do you get them consistently to
Look,
want to do it?
you know, sometimes it's a battle, right? As parents, we have to pick our battle. I always say, like, this is a battle you have to pick and you have to win. So whether it's whether it's a kicking and screaming thing, or like, but you can also just try to make it fun, right? There's a lot of apps out there that you can get to. There's one called, I think it's called Brush DJ, where you just pick a song and it kind of, you have a little dance party while you're brushing. Disney's got an app. The Wiggles have an app. I mean, there's a million out there. So pick whatever you like with your family. Just get a fun toothbrush, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just once you kind of establish that it's a routine, it's usually not that big of a problem, but getting there can be a challenge. So.
Okay. And so talking about a battle that has to be won, is flossing part of that battle, or can we just skip that part?
Generally, it should be, yes. Flossing is good.
Right.
Flossing is good for your teeth. It helps you clean in between the teeth, but really importantly, it cleans down below the gum line.
Right.
So we have a little space between our gums and our teeth, and that's where a lot of bacteria like to hide. And so flossing is important. The general rule is, as soon as the baby teeth, or as soon as the teeth have like tight contact, then it's time to start flossing. Which, like I said, can be a challenge, but you just start early and you keep trying it, and then eventually it kind of just becomes a routine, right? It's just a conditioning exercise where it just becomes part of what you do.
Yeah, and you have to do it for them, I'm guessing, to start with, because can you tell I don't do this for my children yet?
You're not alone, but most people don't. And like I said, at this age, it's more of a conditioning exercise to kind of have it be part of the routine, and just for them to learn that it's something you have to do.
Fair enough. Okay, we can all do better. So we've got the basics down on our routine. Tell me about some things that can go wrong. What about accidents? You must see a lot of patients with trauma come in to see you. What are the most common accidents?
Most common accidents are falls.
Right.
Kid is running or dancing or having a great time and just falls down. With an adult, when they have their permanent teeth, which usually come in 6, 7, 8, the most common thing is just like a chipped tooth or a broken tooth. Baby teeth tend to get actually knocked out more, but anything can happen to any of the teeth. Like I said, I've got a couple little boys at home, and we've my 4-year-old has chipped both of his front teeth in separate incidents. So marble floors are tough.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a very, very, very common thing. Something like, about 20-25% of kids in the world have had some kind of traumatic dental injury.
Wow, that's a lot. So what should you do? Let's say your kid has fallen in the playground on a marble floor at home, and what do you do in that moment?
Well, it depends what's happened, but if try to get to a dentist as soon as you can.
Right.
If they've chipped the tooth, try to get the pieces and take them to the dentist. Importantly, if they've knocked out a permanent tooth, it's really important to act very quickly, because you can actually save the tooth a lot of times.
Wow.
Right, so if they've knocked out a permanent tooth, pick it up by the crown. Try not to touch the root.
Yes.
If it's visibly dirty, you can rinse it off really quick in some water, and then you can actually try to put it back in the socket yourself.
Really?
And if you do that, if you get that done within the first 5 or 10 minutes, there's a really high success rate of the tooth just reimplanting. Within the first hour, you still have a pretty good chance. Anything over an hour, the long-term prognosis of the tooth drops pretty significantly, so you need to act quickly.
Okay.
Baby teeth, we don't reimplant those. So if you get knocked out a baby tooth, you're just gonna have some snaggletooth photos for a few years until the adult teeth come in. Still go to a dentist just to make sure there's no other problems, fractures or anything like that. But the key is to act quickly when an adult tooth is knocked out.
Right. So is there? I don't know anything about this. Is there like an A&E for dentists? Like if it's not in working hours, what do? You go to the hospital?
Yeah, you can go to the hospital. At A&E, most of them will have like at least an oral surgeon on staff. There are 24-hour dentists in Singapore, so you can probably find one.
Okay.
Or just, if you have a good relationship with your dentist, give them a call and say, hey, can you come in and see me real quick?
Right, but don't wait. That is the key. Try and act as quickly as possible. And what about the old fallacy, is it a fallacy, an old wives' tale of putting the tooth in milk?
That's not a fallacy. That's a real thing. Yeah. Yeah, you definitely. So you need to keep the tooth moist. It's very important. And fresh water doesn't react well with the fibers, the ligament fibers on the tooth.
Okay.
So milk is a great option, especially for young kids. If they're old enough and have the wherewithal to keep it in their mouth, you can just kind of put it in their mouth beside their cheek, And that'll kind of keep it bathed in the saliva.
Yeah.
So that's a good option as well. And like I said, if it's whole and intact and you can put it back in, you can either just try to use your fingers to put it back in, or just kind of hold it in place and gently bite it into place. Sometimes with a hysterical crying kid that can be challenging, but
you can try.
But do your best, yeah.
Okay, so wow, that's really interesting. Okay, more interesting things I want to know. Swimming. I had no idea that swimming could have any effect on your teeth. And there are a lot of kids out there who do a lot of swimming because Singapore's got the highest number of swimming pools per capita in the world.
I didn't know that.
There you go.
That's a good little factor.
Yeah. So how is it affecting our kids' teeth especially?
So swimming is great exercise. It's good. It's good for your body overall. It can affect your teeth. So we use chlorine to disinfect swimming pools and keep the level of harmful bacteria down. Chlorine makes the water acidic, and so that can cause enamel erosion. It can cause the enamel to erode away a bit, and it can lead to sensitivity or discoloration of the teeth and a bunch of other things.
It doesn't actually bleach your teeth. Discoloration. What?
So they can get kind of like almost translucent, so they look kind of like bluish. It can also cause them to look more yellowish because as the enamel goes away, the dentine on the inside is more visible. So that's like kind of like a warmer color, like yellowish, brownish.
Nice.
There's also something called swimmer's calculus that I see more than in Singapore than I did back in the U.S. Basically what happens is the chemicals in the pool cause salivary proteins to break down, and then you get these little organic deposits on your teeth. So if you see, kind of brown or yellow or even black stain on the kids, usually it's on the front teeth.
Right.
A lot of times that's just from swimming a lot of time in the pool.
Wow, so...
They can be polished off, so it's not a big deal, but it's just a sign that that's happening. The enamel erosion is a bigger deal because once the enamel's gone, it's gone. It doesn't regrow or anything. So you just want to make sure that you're keeping an eye on it, going to the dentist regularly, and making sure there's nothing bad happening with all the swimming. One thing you can do with a pool is just take some fresh water, and whenever you get out, just rinse your mouth out really well with some fresh water. Try to keep your mouth shut while you're swimming if you can. Again, easier said than done with kids. And if you have your own pool, you can even check the pH and make sure the pH levels are in the healthy range.
Yes, yes. I think swishing out afterwards is a good tip. It's just not to have any lasting effect on the teeth after you come out. That's an easy one to do.
Right.
Preventative is a bit more tricky, right? But at least to be aware of it and regular checkups, and just keep an eye on what's going on there for sure. Any yellow and brown spots.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good one. Is it best to brush you and your child's teeth in the morning straight after you wake up? Yes, first thing, right?
Generally, yep. So generally
it's a big one.
Right, yeah. So the before or after breakfast, the great debate. A lot of times we eat acidic things for breakfast. So fruit, orange juice, coffee, all that kind of stuff. And if you brush your teeth shortly after anything acidic, all that acid mixes with the toothpaste and it kind of creates this acidic paste that you're kind of grinding into your teeth. So it can actually make the damage from the acid worse. So if you're going to brush after a meal, you want to wait about 30 minutes or even an hour. But generally it's better to brush right when you wake up because you get rid of all that bacteria that is going to create the acid in the first place. And so we usually recommend brushing straight in the morning. Like I said, it's easier with the morning routines and that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah, and then so evening routine, after the kids have had their dinner or whatever, again, you need to wait 30 minutes, an hour.
Yep.
Depends on what they're having, of course. And I'm guessing dinner time's maybe less acidic
Generally,
than breakfast time. But it's important to have a little bit of a gap before, sending them to go and brush in bed. Right? So yes, important to
and importantly, like a lot of people don't know, there's sugar in everything. There's sugar in milk, there's sugar in, of course, any kind of juice, anything like that. So after you brush your teeth at night, any kind of snack or juice or anything other than water, you've got to brush your teeth again.
Yeah. Really important. Okay, so looking at a little bit bigger picture, how is our oral health connected to our overall health?
It's a great question. There are, it is intimately connected. So the whole body is a system and it all kind of starts with the mouth. So there's all kinds of studies relating cavities and problems with the teeth to all kinds of behavioral issues, and just overall health issues. Particularly gum health is important. So we've learned more and more that gum health having gum disease can affect things like cardiovascular and neurovascular issues. So like diabetes, heart disease, even like Alzheimer's. And a huge percentage of teeth that are lost in the world are not necessarily lost because of a problem with the tooth, they're lost because of problems with the gums. So
Right.
that's as important as anything. So that goes back to why the flossing is important.
Right, yes, back to the not just cleaning the teeth, but below the gum line
Right.
as well. And so, how can we help our children? What should we look out for in terms of gum health?
The best thing is just establish a good routine at home. Make it just part of everyday life, and then just go to the dentist regularly. We recommend going to the dentist twice a year for a cleaning and a checkup. We find that just establishes a good routine, and just make sure that we don't go too far between visits to make
Yes.
sure any issues are found quickly.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, and another bigger picture question related to children and dentistry is braces. Now, it seems that more so than when I was a kid, so many kids have braces these days. Is it inevitable? What can we do to save our pennies as parents? Are they a good thing? Like, what's your view? Tell me about braces.
It does seem like they're more and more common,
Yes.
right? So, I mean, no, it's not inevitable. Look, broadly, there's two reasons to get braces. It's functional or aesthetic.
Right.
And now everybody wants the perfect smile, right? Most kids get braces around 12 or so, give or take a few years when all the adult teeth are in. But it's a good idea to have a conversation with an orthodontist earlier on. So as soon as the permanent first molars are in, the ones that come in the very back, usually around the age of 6. So 6 or 7, usually a good idea just to have a chat with an orthodontist and see if there's any major discrepancies in jaw growth or in space issues or anything like that. Because sometimes, so for instance, when I was about 12 or 13, I had to have 4 permanent teeth extracted because I just didn't have room for all my teeth.
Me too.
Right? So, but now if we interact a bit early, 7, 8, 9, a lot of times you can use an appliance to kind of guide things into place, make a bit more space, and then you don't have as much work to do when it's time for the perfect smile later on.
Right.
And sometimes you can even avoid braces entirely if you act earlier. So
the practices have changed a little bit since then, which is why there's maybe a bit more kind of gear going in, but it's not necessarily for the same reasons as we might.
Exactly, yeah. So, like I said, good idea to have a conversation around the age of 7.
Right.
Most kids get braces later on in the early teens.
And is that actually something that we as parents should be proactive about to go and see an orthodontist, or is that something that our regular dentist might nudge us to do? Like, what's a better way to approach it?
I think generally your dentist will let you know if there's any major issues. Like I said, when in early kids, it's mostly issues with spacing, like if you don't have enough space for the teeth, or like jaw relationships. So a lot of it is like skeletal, craniofacial development stuff. So there's the dental aspect of it, which is the position of the teeth, and then there's also the position of the bones and the skeleton. And that's important to kind of catch early because so you can kind of guide things into place as they're growing.
Yes. Wow, there's a lot to look out for. I've learned so much today. Thank you so much, Matt. It's been really informative.
No problem. Thank you. I've enjoyed it.
Thanks so much.